get you and Claire another addition?
Sure. So I think probably he's a great coach. He's a really good guy. But Tom Crean said, if that's the place you want to go, you have my full blessing because I know that they're trying to build something greater than just success on the court. So Johnny, this year in our Elite Eight game, there was a timeout huddle. And the team that we were playing against had just gone on this run. We had built a lead. They're going on this run, and we felt this uneasiness about us. It felt like it was that critical moment in every game here where his confidence was placed. I'm going to be the guy who leads us to the first Final Four. And all season long, on the way to our national tournament, Jordan's sharing this with the team. I'm going to lead us. I came here to do this. When we get out to our first round game, you can look it up. Jordan in the first game had 5 points and 7 turnovers. And he's like throwing the ball over people's heads. He's dribbling off his feet. You just tell him, you put a lot of pressure on himself. He has to be the one to get it done. Second round game. Very similar. He scored more points, but he's just doing things uncharacteristic of him because he kept saying, I have to do this. My confidence rests in my own abilities, in my own charisma, in my own work. But that night, in the middle of the night, Jordan woke up 2 a.m. and just was drawn into the scripture. And he read out of Psalm 18. And Psalm 18 is the Psalm of David, and David going into war and how God delivered him from his victory. So what we do every morning as a team is we have this thing we call no Bible, no breakfast. Before you can feed yourself physically, first you have to be fed spiritually. So our guys, before we eat, we're going to say, hey, who was in the Word this morning? Who was praying for a teammate this morning? What were you reading? How were you encouraged? How were you challenged? And Jordan comes running down to us as a coach that morning, and all night we're sitting up thinking, like, Jordan's just putting so much pressure on himself. It's going to be hard for us to win this game and go to our first Final Four unless Jordan changes his mentality. Well, Jordan comes down to us as coaches and says, coaches, I have to share your no Bible, no breakfast time. I go, all right, great. So Jordan starts telling the guys, hey guys, I just woke up at 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I went to the Word, and here's where I went. Jordan all of a sudden chose courage over confidence. He wasn't saying, I have to lead us to the Final Four. He was saying, no, like, my courage is in something greater. So my circumstances are irrelevant. It doesn't matter if I'm playing at the park, if I'm in a 5-on-5 game at Indiana Wesleyan, or if I'm playing to get to the Final Four. My courage is in something greater, so the circumstances are irrelevant. And as his eyes shifted off of the horizontal onto the vertical, his demeanor changed. And that night, Jordan scored 35 points and had 12 assists. And in 10 years, we had not had one player score 35 points or one player had 12 assists. And he led us into our first Final Four. And it's because he chose courage over something greater than himself rather than confidence in himself. If you want to be first find a way to be third. And we think this applies. So I shared some examples with you guys about business or Saturday Night Live. But even when you look at the highest level, so you look at the top NBA teams, and we just went like, we're always, what leads to greatness? The greatest programs, why do they have it? And we just pulled out some quotes. The top NBA team, the Spurs after they won it, the Spurs were an outlier of unselfishness, is what this article said. Greg Popovich said, no one is bigger than the team. If you can't do things our way, you're not getting time here. And we don't care who you are. The Warriors, they won it last year. Warriors win NBA titles through sacrifice. And here's their coach. But for us, it's really fitting that the award, the MVP award, went to Andre Iguodala because he sacrificed his starting role to make Harrison better, to make our bench better. And that set the tone for our whole season. An all-star, an Olympian saying, okay, I'll come off the bench. It set the tone for everything we're able to accomplish. So he was willing to choose weakness. I'm going to come off the bench because it's best for our team. Look at the top college teams. After Duke won the 2015 national championship, here's what Coach K said. From day one, everyone showed up with no egos in the locker room. These guys love each other. They're like brothers. John Calipari, they won in 2012. I always ask my guys, what are you doing to help the team win games when you aren't making shots? Anthony Davis and Michael T. Gilchrist were 4th and 5th on our team in shot attempts, and we're still the first 2 picks in the NBA draft. So these 2 guys, they can say, I'm going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I should get more shots. It's about me. But no, they're sacrificing for the good of the team. We started asking ourselves, what if this were true of our team? What if this were true of the church? He started crying, and what he said was, guys, I've worked my whole life to get to a Final Four. This is my chance. We have to get deep. And we came out, and I have never seen us play so inspired. Our guys were just united. They played hard. They talked. And we blew this other team out. Well, if I had to go back and analyze that speech, Johnny is not, he's not comfortable talking to people. He's not extremely articulate. He's not extremely charismatic. But those words had so much weight. As I thought about why, I thought about another member. This other member was back in September, at the beginning of the year. And on Monday, have you guys heard the story of Davey and Amanda Blackburn in Indianapolis? Who in here is familiar with the story? So Davey Blackburn is a pastor in Indianapolis. His wife, Amanda, was assaulted and murdered in a home invasion. Just a tragic, tragic story. It took over the national headlines. Well, we have a freshman. He's a walk-on. He probably played 15 minutes the entire season. He's first cousins and almost best friends with Davey. So this was just a tragic event in his life. And we have known that on a Monday he went down to visit Davey in the hospital. This was the day it happened. And he had spent all day with him. Well, the next morning, Jackson, this freshman, was gone. But our 2 seniors, Johnny and Josh Maywar, we had a 6 a.m. workout, and they have never had less energy before. And we were getting frustrated as coaches. We're saying, what is going on? You guys are leaders. You're supposed to have energy. You're supposed to be leading us, and they just weren't. Well, they went through the whole workout. They didn't say anything. And after the workout, we found out Jackson had been coming home late at night. And our 2 seniors woke up out of bed, went and met Jackson at 2 a.m., and just spent about an hour praying and talking with him. So they were with him until 3 a.m., and then they woke up at 6 the next morning for a workout. If that's how a senior leader who's a 2-time All-American who played in Indiana is treating the freshman walk-on who's never going to play under any circumstances, do you think when he gets in that timeout huddle and he gets passionate that the players are going to respond? Man, you would have thought that those guys, they could have beat the Bulls that night. I mean, when they came out of that huddle, there was nothing that could have stopped them. And it flowed out of the humility that Johnny showed towards his teammates throughout the course of the year. It wasn't just an inspired speech. It was who Johnny was that allowed the players to respond to. So we say, an I am third leader chooses humility over pride. Second, weakness over strength. And this is a hard one for me because I want to prove that I am better than somebody. I mean, that's what sports is, right? My team tries to go prove that we're stronger than your team. So when in Scripture it says, that is why for Christ's sake I delight in weaknesses, for when I am weak and I am strong, that's hard for me to swallow that. And I can't really understand that. It just goes against everything that's just been ingrained in me since the time I started playing when I was 6 years old. But what we've learned is a strong leader dares to be weak. So often I spend my time trying to prove that I can do everything. So often I want to prove I'm the smartest person in the room. If I can't do everything, I'm going to think everybody else thinks I'm a failure. Everyone's going to be judging me because I can't do it all. So we're scared of being seen as weak. I know I am. So I do everything in my power to cover up any vulnerabilities I have, any weakness I have. But so often it's through our weaknesses that God can work in the mightiest ways and that a team can really come together. So I pulled up these 2 guys. Who's this? Will Ferrell. Now, for a different generation, who's this? All right, who in here? Saturday Night Live. Any Saturday Night Live fans? Come on, any Saturday Night Live fans? If you're a Saturday Night Live fan, raise your hand. All right, let's take a vote, and we'll see the generational divide. Who here would be the best Saturday Night Live character? Let's clap for it. If you're going to choose Will Ferrell, give Will Ferrell a hand. All right, if you're going to choose Phil Hartman, anybody? on the greatest Saturday Night Live characters of all time. They had this big tournament. I think they chose like 100 people, and they pared it down. And they tried to show who were the best of all time. And these two were overwhelmingly the first and second choice. And it wasn't even close. So they really dove into why. They asked cast members, they asked fans, they asked writers, why were these two chosen as the two greatest of all time? Here's what they said. There was a common theme between these two that weren't seen in others. The two are, this is from the article, the two are forever united by one simple fact. They made everyone around them better. Everyone else seemed funnier when they were with them. It wasn't about who the most talented was, but who lifted others. So when these two got in a scene, everybody else seemed funny. And it's funny because last night, I had a long weekend at work, and I got home last night and I was drunk. I don't know, Tiffany's laughing over here. So Tiffany said something along the lines of, you got an illness and the only prescription is sleep. I don't know if you guys know this scene, but probably the most famous line from this scene, the cowboy scene is, I've got a prescription, and I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell, right? More cowbell. Who gave that line? Christopher Walken. It wasn't him. It was the other guy. And when you go back and you're looking at a lot of Will Ferrell's best stuff, he's hilarious. But everybody else around him, when they get around him, they're pretty funny. And it's him. He doesn't have to dominate. He doesn't have to take over. He can allow others to thrive because he understands it's not all about him. There's this great story from our season. This is Aaron Murray. He was a junior for us this year. And Aaron came to us from the mission field in Africa. He had played basketball for 1 year. He's 6'10", but my son Josh could post him up when he got to me at Wesleyan. I mean, he was awful. And he was a great kid. He's a 4.0. He just works and works and works. And we just kind of said, he'll be great to have on the team, but he'll never help us. Well, Aaron's one of those guys. If we told him, hey, every morning you get up to gain weight, you got to do 100 push-ups. He'd come in and he did 300 fingertip push-ups. If we said, hey, meet us at 6:30 a.m. and we're going to get a basketball workout, he was there at 6 and he was already half an hour into it before we got there. So over the course of time, Aaron grew and grew and grew, but he still was kind of knocking on the door of getting in and getting minutes. Well, leading into our national tournament, Aaron had not played more than 3 minutes for 10 straight games. Well, in the first game that they would have it, I was in the national tournament, we had some foul trouble, and Aaron went in. And in 14 minutes, he had 20 points and 11 rebounds. Just exploded. And all the guys are so happy for Aaron because he's been working to earn this spot. And he gets in, and like this dunk is from that game, he just played a monster game. So the rest of the tournament, he's playing more and more because he's playing well. When we get to the national championship game, and we're playing, this is the biggest stage he could be on at our level. And he gets put in the second half. And I kid you not, his first possession in the game in the second half. There's 11 minutes and about 30 seconds left. And Aaron goes up and he gets an offensive rebound, puts it back up, and one, going to the free throw line. So St. Francis sends a sub in because their center got his 4th foul. So they had to take him out. Well, Aaron's at the free throw line and the coaches are talking, and I turn and I see Aaron go, Coach, and he's going like this. Well, what may be seen as a sign of weakness, he's saying, I need to come out of the game. This is supposed to mean I'm tired, I need a sub. But I'm sitting there thinking, you've been in the game for 15 seconds. Why are you pulling on your jersey? This is the biggest stage. He's worked and worked and worked. He's been up early. He stayed up late. He's disciplined himself for this moment. He makes a great play and he pulls himself out of the game. So he makes the free throw and he comes running back to the bench. I'm thinking he's hurt. He's sure got a lot of energy. So he sits down. I say, Aaron, what's going on? He said, Coach, they took their 5-man out and put a guard in. I can't guard that guy. So he subbed himself out of the game because he saw his weakness. And he knew it wasn't best for the team. Well, we get a stop on that next possession, and if he saw the score, we won the game by 1 possession. What if Aaron would have won it have been the strongest person in the room? What if he wasn't willing to admit his weakness? We'll never know. And you know what? If you look out in the crowd, there was nobody that knew that Aaron did that. Not a single person saw what we saw with Aaron when he came out of the game. They're like, why did he go in for one possession and come out? He kind of looked like a fool, to be honest. But that's Aaron. That's choosing weakness over strength. If you're tough, you don't have to prove it. Genuinely strong leaders feel secure enough to display a side of themselves that others might mistakenly call weak. As 2 Corinthians shows us, when we are weak, that's when we become the strongest as a group. So third, and probably our favorite, courage over confidence. Courage over confidence. And this is a subtle thing, but by nature, confidence is always based on circumstance. Always based on circumstance. So if I just made a 3, I'm feeling pretty good. If I had my best month of sales, I'm pretty confident. But what if I haven't made a sale in weeks or months? What if we're going to be playing a team that just beat us 3 times? Twice by 20 points. Confidence is based on circumstance. Courage, on the other hand, is based on belief in something or someone greater than your circumstance. So it doesn't matter what my circumstance is. I believe in someone greater than that circumstance, and that's always constant, and that's always steady. And if that's where my hope is, it doesn't matter what my circumstance says. It doesn't matter that St. Francis beat us 3 times. We're playing out of courage, not confidence. It doesn't matter if I've come this close to a sale time and time again. That's not what my hope is based upon. That's not where I find my security. So these passages, Philippians 3, for it is we who serve God by His Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus and put no confidence in the flesh. And then maybe our favorite passage as a program. For God has not given us the spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. And I read this book recently by Stanley Penn called God Owns My Business, and it's just this phenomenal story of courage. So Stanley Penn was a businessman in Ohio in the 60s. He was making $12,000 a year. And one night in prayer, he felt led to literally sign his business over to God. And what it says up here is, they said it couldn't be done formally or legally. So he didn't know if he could legally sign it over to God. He didn't know if he could, is that even allowed? But what he decided was, I'm just going to sign this over to God. I'm just going to just give a bunch of money away. And it wasn't about, I'm going to build this empire for myself. Like, I'm frustrated in business. Money's not doing it for me. I'm just chasing money, and I'm unsatisfied. And as soon as he did that, you should read this book. His business just explodes. And he's literally giving away millions of dollars every year to charities around the world because God owned his business. He was acting out of courage in someone greater than a circumstance, rather than the confidence that he could do it on his own. And in our program, his story was personified 2 years ago in our first national championship. So Jordan Widener, probably the best player we've had in our program's history. He was the #1 draft pick in the Canadian Basketball League. He had a lot of options to go play overseas. He's 3rd all-time in scoring and 1st in assists in our program's history. And Jordan, if you've ever seen a tough kid, man, his hobby is to MMA fight. He's a kid. Sometimes as a coach, I think about yelling at him, but I'll be like, I don't know if I want to yell at Jordan because I'm not good. So our program, at this point, when we were our first national championship, we had been to the Elite Eight 5 years in a row, or 5 out of 7 years, but we had never gotten past the Elite Eight. There was this monkey on our back. We could not break through. And all season long, we've been studying this concept of fearlessness. What does it mean to be fearless? Well, I'll be honest, as a coach, we act like we had it all together, but we get to that Elite Eight game, and we just tighten up. And even as a staff, we sense it, we can't get over this. We have to, and we grit our teeth and just try harder, but we're playing tight. We just can't do it. You see it sometimes in big games where some teams, you're watching on TV, and they just don't look like themselves. Well, I'll tell you, that's real. They don't feel prone to the pressure. We felt that pressure, and a lot of it was self-imposed. So Jordan, he kept on here, the reading room, and we have a state-of-the-art locker room. You look at the very front, and you see this, and right here it says Philippians 2, 1 through 11. And if there's two things that we really pull out of there. The first is that collectively, we would be one in spirit and purpose. And individually, each of us would have an attitude like Christ. And we pray those things over our team every day. And then we go on these mission trips. So in August, we'll go to the Dominican Republic. And a lot of college teams go on international trips. And what most of them do is they go to the beach, they go to 5-star resorts, and then they play basketball games while they're there. Well, we go to the Dominican Republic, and we go to the poorest of the poor. So we go to this place every time we go called The Hole. And The Hole is literally, it used to be a landfill. And now there's a community of 500 or 600 people that live down there. And during lunchtime, we'll serve a meal to the children who live in The Hole. And for a lot of them, that's the only meal they get for their entire day. So it's this powerful thing for our guys where they leave and they say, holy cow, I've never seen anything like that. I have no idea how lucky we are. And then at night, we'll go play games against a professional team. Well, if we're talking about not taking bad shots, if that's what you've been doing all day, that comes alive at night. Well, what Tony was saying, before our guys can get on the plane to go to the Dominican Republic, they have to stand in front of their team and recite that passage, Philippians 2, 1 through 11. I challenge you guys to read it, but it's just something, if you get up there and you don't do it, you're going home. So what happens is our guys are working out in the summer, you know, we have a drill we have to do for 2 minutes, a plank, say, or we're doing push-ups for 2 minutes. Rather than look at the clock, they'll all just start reciting this verse, and they're saying it together because if they can't say it, they're not going on this trip.